Okay, welcome. This is my actual first ever live stream on the channel Moonlyte Music. So this is a bit of a completely new ball game for me. I've never actually done anything like this before, and I wanted to basically start the stream by kind of explaining a little bit about my reasons for doing this. So I kind of wanted to be able to produce more music and to sort of show my process a bit more, and to like give people the live feedback and ability to like watch me produce live. I'm not really expecting a ton of views or anything on this kind of stuff, but I would very much like to be able to produce more, also to interact with my audience a bit more, and to generally really just get more involved in music production. I've been so caught up in doing a lot towards the channel that I haven't really done enough in terms of like the music side of things. So that's really the logic behind it. So today I've got a couple of different things that I wanted to be doing. One is that I am looking forward to trying out a couple of different bass patch sort of design, sort of sound designy kind of things. And I'm going to be working with a track that I've been working on recently. And secondly, we're going to just be sort of generally working on that track as well. So the first things first I'm going to really start with is looking at a bit of sort of some bass sound design. So, yeah, I guess we're going to get right into that. Apologies for any technical issues. I'm not sure if there are going to be any technical issues. I have, okay, I've already got somebody saying that they don't hear anything. That's a good sign. So let me just see if I got a problem. Nope, that should be working. That should be working. Okay, so, all right, anyway, I'm going to wait for that feedback, but I'm going to get into the production. So I'm going to just open up Ableton and switch over. If you see me looking up, that's because my second screen is literally up there and I don't have a better... thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Okay, yeah, my chat is up there and my everything is up there, so that's why I'm staring up sometimes, and if I miss things in the chat it's because I'm not looking up enough, so apologies for that. Right, so yeah, so let me just stick onto the other thing. Okay, so this is a project I've been working on. It's currently untitled at the moment, and we've got a bit of an intro. Still quite a lot of work to do. A bit of a drop. Again, still quite a lot of work to do. So one of the things that I like to do when it comes to production is I've got a few like things that I want to try and like do as a bit of a good habits. One is that I'm going to time my output, so I'm going to do 45 minutes of production and then 15 minutes of sort of like answering any questions if there's ever anybody there. If there's nobody there, then we'll be just moving on, but it's kind of my preferred method of working, so I'm going to stick to that. And yeah, so we're going to get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a listen through, and I'm going to take some notes as to things that I would like to do or improve, and so we'll have a little bit of a thing to work from afterwards. Let's see if I can make this a bit of a better ratio. There we go. Oh, I have realised that I need to be on this one. There we go. Right, so yeah, I don't want to spend too long listening to the track, so I'm just gonna get it going. Okay, so I was just doing a little bit of a listen through there to sort of see what needs to be going on there. Hi to Carl Slime Blue. Nice to see you from London. Yeah, so my chat is up here, by the way, if anybody wonders why I'm looking up. So yeah. So basically, yeah, this intro is coming along, but it needs quite a lot of work. There's like quite a lot of like texture missing from the very beginning. We've got some like nice orchestral elements and things like that. It's got a bit of a dark sci-fi neuro-ish kind of vibe. So yeah, the drop is okay. The whole thing, I generally work this way. I don't usually like spend a lot of time mixing while I'm making it. I try and make it sound good at least once or twice so I can like hear what the potential mix would sound like, but I don't spend tons of time actually mixing as I go because it's usually just a huge waste of time. The main reason is that you'll be adding elements in, and as soon as you add in a new element, your mix is completely off. So I just really don't recommend like mixing or spending tons of time tweaking things to make them sound perfect. So if it doesn't sound like a release ready track, that's one of the reasons. I'm sure I'll probably do a live stream where I'm actually mixing the track as well, and that will be quite interesting for people to watch as well, hopefully. So one thing that I want in this drop is that I've currently got like a main bass riff. Let's have a listen. So that's these parts here. And if I just play that on its own. So that's like that's kind of like my main idea, really. It's kind of like the signature bass for this particular track. It was created in Phase Plant and then like rendered out. I can talk a little bit about kind of neuro bass production, but that's not really going to be specifically this stream because it's quite a detailed topic. There's quite a lot we can talk about, and so I think it's probably best that I go into what I was planning to do today, which is I want to make a third bass for this. Well, actually, technically it would be fourth if you include the sub bass. A new bass sound for this riff. So we have that was the signature bass. We've got a bit of like a foghorn. My friend described it as an elephant trumpeting sound. So that's, sorry, I'll just play it on its own. So we've got that kind of thing as well. And I'm thinking that we will make a bit of a whomp sound for the next sound that will go at the end. So at the end of this whole riff is it just kind of goes again. I'm not really that happy with that. I would kind of like a different bass sound to sort of round off the whole riff. So I'll play it one more time just so you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so it's this second elephant trumpeting thing that I kind of want to get rid of. I'll just... So, yeah, this one here is the one I don't... So I don't really want that second one. So we're going to just get rid of it. So we have that's called Phase Plant, but there isn't a copy of Phase Plant in there. So Phase Plant here is one of my, well, no, it's just my all-time favorite synth. It's an incredible, incredible piece of technology, and it works really, really well. Please tell me it's going to load. That is something I wasn't expecting to happen. Oh, I'm being an idiot. It's already here. Okay, cool beans. Right, so... yeah, there's already one of my original patches loaded in there. I'm just gonna... That doesn't sound like a Crunchy Reese at all to me. Have I actually used this anywhere else? Apologies about this. I'm just going to check that I've not used that. Nope. So, for some reason, unless I'm playing a different channel... Oh yeah, that's that channel, isn't it? quick side note, Ableton is actually not my first DAW. This is I've actually only been using Ableton for about a year. My main DAW that I used for probably about 15 years was a program called Reaper, which is an amazing program. I absolutely love it. It's free. It's really powerful and really, really compact. And I know it like the back of my hand, but I just don't know Ableton as well. So anybody seeing me act like a complete muppet when it comes to using Ableton, you literally just tell me if I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, so apologies for the sort of like fannying around with this particular program. So, okay, here we go. This should be my crunchy Reese. Well, that's a little bit underwhelming. Okay. That doesn't sound crunchy at all. Okay, well, anyway. I'm not going to be going with this anyway. We're going to go for a new patch. So, I don't know if any of you have ever used this particular program. Let me just have a quick look at the chat. Okay, so we... basically, this program is one of my absolute favorites. It's they call it a semi-modular synth. So basically, it's kind of blank when you open it, and you can load different things into the different sort of sections. Generators are where you'll get your actual audio signals. You can have waves, or you can have samples. You can have wave tables. You can have basically anything in this section. There's even now a bunch of different ones. There's noise. We've even got granular plugins now, which is granular generators, which is really, really sick, because that's always a lot of fun to play with. But what you do is you load in a wave here, essentially. So this is how we kind of like start. Then you've got your modulators down here, so you can add in LFOs and things like that, and envelopes. And then you have your effects here. So if you want to say add some like reverb, you just like click reverb. That's the very simplest version. So I'm just giving you the basics so you can kind of like see your way around this program. I've just realized I've done something stupid. I wasn't showing my screen. Hilarious. So yeah, basically here, I'll just go through it again. Very professional. So essentially here is where you have the generators, and that's where the audio signal comes from. So you can load in like a wave. You've got different waves, or you can load in a wave table where you have a set of waves that morph, and there's different things. Then you have modulators down here where you can load in things like your LFOs and your envelopes. So the fact that it's blank might look a bit intimidating to some people, but it actually turns out to be like super powerful in the way you can like route things and all of that. So it's a great program. So I think we're going to make a bit of a womp sound. So essentially a womp is kind of like a little bit similar to the trumpeting sound. We get like a sound that starts darker and gets brighter, and it kind of goes back again. It sort of goes whap and then back down. So we're going to create, we're going to have a go at sort of making one. These kind of patches are a little bit, you know, I always go into it with like no expectations of necessarily making something fantastic straight away. It kind of like just goes how it goes. Sometimes I will like keep going and practice getting them, you know, I will keep on iterating until like it gets better. And sometimes I abandon patches. Hopefully that's not going to be one thing that happens today. So we'll see. So we're going to stick in an analog, which is basically like just the basic waves. So we have sawtooth, square, triangle, and sine. And I'm going to probably, I'm just thinking now, I'm probably going to start with a sine. So this would have been good if I'd planned this. A spectrograph. Nope, they don't. Oh, hang on. I probably have one, but I don't actually know what it's called. Okay, I can always do a Pro Q. So, with a sine wave, again, anybody who's got any experience in synthesis will be able to tell you that a sine wave is just one frequency. So if I play a sine, you see there's literally just one band playing. So you only have like one, it's essentially like one note, except in nature, notes are made up of lots of other frequencies. So if I play a sawtooth, you can see there are tons of other frequencies. You can also hear that there is more detail and it's brighter in the higher ranges. So these, no, it's not, Nick. It's not the intention for you to hear the music through the speakers. You should be able to hear it properly as well. Is it echoing essentially? I've tried to set it up so it would cut out whenever I'm like playing in the thing, but it might not be working brilliantly. I'm just going to continue anyway. Let me know if you can. So so essentially, if we start with a sine, we've got a very dull sound. It's not bright at all. Are you saying that you can't hear the track at all when it was playing? Like it was just coming through here and not the audio properly? That's just coming through on... I've tested this a bunch of times before doing this. Yeah, it will be. I did try and sort this out so it wouldn't happen. Is there something obvious I'm doing wrong? Yeah, okay, if it's very low, then that is not correct. Let me just see. Okay. Weird, that should be coming through. That's coming through there. Okay, I'm just going to do a test with you guys. If I turn my mic all the way down, you should be not able to hear anything. So, am I right in thinking that you can't hear my door playing? Yeah, just through your mic. Yup. Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, it didn't take long to get into our first technical hurdle, did it? Right, so I guess there's really not... I'm not sure what I can do to fix this right this second. Streaming one. I wonder if it's because I'm like streaming it separately, or... I don't know why that is. Ableton. It looks like the audio is coming through. Whether that is going to a different channel with you guys is another matter. Okay. Well, this is going to be a huge failure of a stream if that's the case, because we're not going to be able to actually do what we were planning on doing. Because you need to be able to hear what I'm doing. I have to have a think. Trying to solve a problem on the fly like this is really not ideal. Hilarious when you're literally, your job is an audio guy, to have an audio fuck up. That is just about the worst thing that can happen. Okay, so that is coming. Let me see if there's something going on in here. Gain. Oh, why is that like that? Oh, it might have been ridiculously loud before. I'm significantly concerned that if I get rid of one of these, it would then blow everybody's ears. Okay, let me see if this works. Okay, could you just let me know if this is coming through like it sounds like it's out of the door? Yeah, I'm using Restream. Yeah, 100%. I've literally done this a bunch of times, not streaming, but I've actually recorded my video and recorded other things, and I've also tested this a bunch of times before actually doing it to make sure that the audio was coming through. Oh, now I'm seeing extra sound. Does that sound extra weird? Yeah. Stream Ableton. Okay. I really don't know what else to do. I'm just gonna test something out. Yeah, no, that's obviously not how I had it set up. I had it set up so you could hear the door playing when it was playing. I don't know if it's like slightly different because I'm like literally streaming and recording at the same time. But I will have a look. Receive audio. Yep, that's correct. It's coming through. That's the weird thing. I just don't understand why. It might be because I've got it set to a different channel on the thing and you're not. Okay, I'm going to try one last thing. Hopefully we can save the damn stream. Audio. No, that's not right. Sorry. I don't know if this will work while I'm midstream. Okay. This is going to mess up my recording probably. Is that working? If not, then I guess my plans are all ruined. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, at least we can continue with the damn stream. I'm going to have to literally cut all this bit out of the actual YouTube video once it's done. Right. Okay. So, yeah, that's going to affect things in other ways that I haven't quite sorted out. Well, I guess we can go back to the beginning then, really. I'm going to play the track from the beginning. So what I did before was I basically played the track and listened to the intro and the drop to sort of kind of get where I was to try and get a baseline of to what I'm going to be working on today. So I made some notes and then I would generally go back and work through those. But yeah. Obviously nobody could hear what was happening at all, which is hilarious. But yeah, so I'll play it from the beginning, but I'm not going to do a ton of like playing it over and over again, because that's not the point of the stream. It's basically the point of the stream is to so you can actually watch the production process, you know. So I'll play what we've got here so far so you can actually hear it properly. It's not finished, it's not mixed, and there's a lot of work to go, but yeah, here's it from the beginning. Okay, so that's kind of like what we're working for. Hopefully you can actually properly hear that this time. And oh yeah, thanks. I think basically, oh sorry, I should read it out. Early 2000s Ed Rush and Optical Vibes. Well, thanks, because like I do particularly like those guys. And particularly Pac-Man. I really love that track. But yeah, like I think probably my style is kind of like a little bit like 2000s-ish or maybe 2010s-ish, sort of like neuro-y and kind of like the darker sci-fi-ish kind of stuff. But I do like a bunch of different sort of genres within drum and bass. I do like some of the more poppy kind of ones as well. But the stuff I kind of like to produce usually has a bit of a darker edge. So yeah. So what I was saying before, we have a bit of a problem. Well, not a problem, but like something that I want to solve is that our bass sounds. So like, I'll play it again because again, really the beginning of the stream was a complete bust. So we'll play it again. This first part is kind of like the signature bass. So just so you can hear it on its own. Nice. Ed Rush Raven is in my top 3. Yeah, cool. Thanks. So the one of the things here. We have what I call sort of like our main bass riff, our main sort of idea, which is a bass sound that I like made from scratch using phase plant that I was showing you a little bit earlier, although you couldn't hear it properly. And that was kind of like the jumping off point for this whole track, was essentially this sound here. So that kind of like quite gnarly neuro-ish sort of like respace with a lot of modulation and stuff is one of the sounds that I basically made to start this sort of track essentially. And then the intro and stuff came afterwards. I wanted to add in a bunch of like orchestrally kind of things because I thought that would sound pretty cool. So we have a bit of like a dark sort of sci-fi neuro-ish thing happening here. Noisier are like the GOAT, and if you ask me, they're like some of the best producers out there, not just drum and bass. Like, I honestly think they are legendary producers, and I've always been really interested in their approach to bass sound design, and it's one of the reasons I got into like more detailed into sort of production and stuff. So yeah, and now I've had my first life interruption. I've heard the door go, so hopefully somebody's going to sort that out. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, that bass sound is one thing, and then we have what my friend described as like the elephant trumpeting sound, which is this one. That's kind of like a basic kind of foghorn type effect. And what I was trying to do next is I was going to be hopefully making some sort of womp sound, which is a similar effect to the trumpeting sort of sound. You have a bass essentially that starts off darker and then gets brighter and then darker again very quickly. So I'm just going to be kind of freewheeling it here, trying to make a bit of a patch. And we might have to abandon this halfway through. That's absolutely fine. This is all about like sort of experimenting and just sort of seeing if the sound, A, if you like the sound, and then B, whether it actually will like work in the context of the track. There are things you can do to like make it work better, but we're just gonna be playing essentially here. So that's kind of how I approach my sound design, really. Like, I know what like a good quality sound sounds like in my mind, and then like I can sometimes get there by sort of brute forcing it and playing around, and sometimes it results in, you know, a bit of some failed experiments here and there. But that's totally fine. Like, you don't have to make things amazing straight away. You know, the track so far has been made by a bunch of like experimentation and messing around. And that's where we end up. So yeah, so we're gonna get on with this. So first of all, I'm starting with the sine wave. The reason is that because in my mind we can start this way. We will have our very, very dull and uninspiring sine wave. Oh Christ, now I can't hear it. What is going on there? Oh my God. Can you guys hear that? Oh yes, I have it bloody muted. That's why. Oh, thank God. It was just a normal problem. Right. So with a sine wave, you only have one frequency. As you can see, it's literally just one wave. And so there is nothing crazy going on there at all. When you have a sort of a very simple wave like that, you can actually make it more detailed and brighter in a number of different ways. There are multiple ways I can think of to like add harmonics to this. For a start, we could just literally add another one. That would do it. Let me just add another one. And then if I tune this differently, I'll maybe go up. So now we have two. So that's a way we can add more detail. And I might add another like kind of note to this, but to start with, we're going to try something called frequency modulation. It doesn't quite work. There's a technical reason why it's not exactly frequency modulation in this program. It's beyond the scope of this video. Don't really need to get into that. But just in case anybody, in the comments in the future are like, it's not actually technically phase modulation, frequency modulation, I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. I am aware. But yeah, so frequency modulation, it's quite technical. I don't really necessarily want to get into the deep technical side of it. But what happens is you use the frequency of one wave to alter the frequencies of another wave. And what that does is it makes the original wave brighter. You're adding detail to it. So I'm going to turn off the output of this wave here. So this is going to be what we call a carrier. And this is the modulator. that means this is the main wave. The sound comes out of here. The output of this wave is going to the master, which is going through here. And this wave is going to be used to affect the way that this wave works. So at the moment, it's just a single frequency. What key am I playing this track in? Hang on, I think it's in F. So that's kind of low. You might have trouble hearing that if you're on different speakers or like lower headphones. But don't worry, because when we brighten it up, you will be able to hear it. So what we do is we take this is a modulation output, and we take this and then we're going to modulate the phase. So as soon as I start cranking this up, you see how now that modulation is going from here to here? When I start cranking this up, you will see that more detail is added to this wave. You'll see it actually affected in the wave here. And you will also see more detail coming onto the frequency, the EQ here as well. So let me just get that a bit better organized so you can see both. Okay, so if I drag this up, so you see this wave, I don't know why I'm pointing, this wave here is adding essentially new frequencies, new information to this wave here. So that is one way we can increase the detail. Now, you might already sort of hear that we're getting a little bit of the idea of that sort of like that whomp, but currently we don't have anything controlling that to sort of make that actually happen. I have to physically drag this up and down in order to make anything happen. So we don't want that. We want to actually have a control that will do that for us. And we can do that with an envelope. So we're going to do that here. I think I can I make this bigger? Some of these you can double click to make larger. No, I don't think you can do that on here. An envelope is essentially a controller that does something in our synth. Like an envelope usually will control the volume. You can see on these waves here, there is already an envelope attached. This envelope specifically deals with the volume. So let me just add some detail again so you can hear this wave a bit easier from those lower headphones. So if it's a volume envelope, then I move this like this. If I put the attack down, you see the sound fades in. That's because down here there's 0 volume, and up here there is max volume. And you can make it really long. It takes a while before it gets to max volume. But you can use envelopes to control other things in the synth. You don't have to just control volume. You can control, well, in Faceplant, you can basically control almost anything. So if I click this button here, this will open up the modulation options, and anywhere there is an orange plus, I can modulate that with this envelope. So if I want to make this phase go whap, open and close, I can add it to here. And then if I open this, we'll have that sort of effect. I don't know how into synthesis and synths people are, but this is like my bread and butter, and this is what I really love doing. So if at any point you get confused or you want to know more, literally just shove it in the chat and I can try and break it down, make it a bit more simple, or like help you be able to understand it a bit better. But one thing I love about Faceplant is that you can see visually what happens. So you can see, if you look at this envelope here, you can see the actual envelope move. You see that little dot, okay, essentially, rises with the envelope. And then you can see that it's affecting this line here. So this is set to the maximum. So when this goes up, it will turn that on to the maximum. That's essentially what is happening here. So we have one way of making our sound brighter. Another very obvious way we can make the sound brighter is we start with a different wave. But that's a bit too bright for me to start with. We could try a triangle. Oh, that's kind of nice, actually. Yeah, I might go with that, or I'm going to stick with sine just for now. But we can have a look at that later and see what happens there. Now, so we're going to get onto the important part. Use Vital and some of the FL Studio stock plugins. It's pretty similar to Vital. Yeah, it is. Vital is an absolute beast. I really like Vital. I just don't have the experience using it because I just love Faceplant so much. Vital is unbelievably good value. Like, don't listen to me at all about Faceplant. Stick with Vital. It is a killer plugin. It sounds amazing. You also have, like, I think the base cost is 25 quid or dollars. Oh no, you're from London there, aren't you? So yeah, £25, and it's just unbelievably unbeatable value. You don't get all of the bells and whistles with the higher cost packages of it. But the only thing that's missing are certain different wave tables and presets. So it's completely fully functional. It just doesn't have some of the wavetables and presets that the later volumes do. And the later versions do, should I say. And also, the most expensive it can be, I think, is £80. So it is just the best value synth on the market by a fucking country mile, and you should use it. So it's damn good, and yeah, and it sounds great too. One thing I love about Faceplant is it sounds amazing, but it is a paid plugin. I have been on the Kilohertz subscription model for years now. I think I got it in 2021 or something like that. So I probably can buy the whole thing outright now. But the best part about it is that, like, all of the plugins and extra things that this comes with are all included in the main version. So, and it's just my little hobby horse. I will go to town for Faceplant. But really, that's only if you're going to be actually investing money into the hobby or into, actually producing. So that's one. That's one reason I'm going with this. But I do love Vital. I should do some videos on Vital, really, and get to know it a bit better. I have heard a bunch of the presets as well, and they sound delicious. So yeah, but in my opinion, you just need one synth. Just pick whichever is your favorite and go with it. Like, I've used Serum, I've used Vital, I've used Faceplant. I've used some stock stuff. Over the years, I've used absolutely loads of different things. Used to use Native Instruments Massive back in the day. That was absolutely the GOAT. Use the Kilohertz free bundle. The Kilohertz free bundle is awesome as well. And also, they've included some of the new stuff in there as well. Like, these are the premium effects, so none of those. But you've got... where is it? Compactor. This is an amazing plugin. Compactor is, I did a whole video on it actually. The Compactor is essentially it's like a sidechain compressor, but it works very, very fast. It works at audio level, audio speed. So it kind of like, it's almost like it deletes a waveform from another, so you can like mix things very, very accurately. It's really good. I'm using it in this program, in this piece. So yeah, and yeah, all of these are all free. So yeah, and these are very, very useful, but are not complete and utter game over if you can't use them. And also, another thing that I love about Faceplant is that any of the presets that use any of this stuff also still work. You just can't edit any of the premium effects or the multipass and snap heap and stuff like that. So that's one of the huge benefits of that. So yeah, anyway, let's get back to womping. Let's get our womp on. So I used to use Rob Papen's Predator and NI Absinthe back in the day. Oh, Absinthe, yeah, that's taken me back. I still have Absinthe, and I still have Massive as well. I do have like some of the Native Instruments bundle stuff, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like, Absinthe was interesting because it was like quite of a wild, like, it was that is like an additive synth, so it's kind of like, it was a lot more unpredictable and works off ratios, and so it was a fun time. I used to also use FM8 back in the day as well. That is also a really powerful synth. I think FM8 and Massive are some of the two like main workhorse synths that Noisier used in their production. And yeah, I'll go down a rabbit hole if I keep talking about that. Anyway, but yeah, so we're gonna make what I call the Womp fin. So basically, we're gonna make a kind of a fin shape, and this is basically, so what we don't want is we don't want any sustain. So the reason for that is that the sound opens up and then closes again. So with a womp, it goes whamp and it opens and closes. So you want it to come up and then come back down again. If you have sustain, if you're playing the note, it doesn't go away when you take your hand off of it. Sorry, when you leave your hand on it. So we need sustain all the way down. So we're getting towards kind of the womp shape. What I usually do, and it's not possible in every single synth because they have different envelopes, but I kind of make a little bit of a kind of a shark's fin kind of shape. And usually I can make this kind of a bit shorter as well, a bit narrower. And we can experiment with the length of time that goes for. Now, if I'm changing it up here, how much this phase modulation kind of works, we get a much brighter sound at the tippy top of this fin here, of our womp fin. So I'm just going to dial in what I think might be a good value. I'm basing it on, oh, it's actually not going to be in that key at this point, is it? Just let me 1 second. I'm going to go back and listen, because it stays in F, and then for the very last part of the bar, the last part of this riff, it goes up 1 semitone to F sharp, I believe. So this is in F. So I think we're going to be doing it in F sharp, because that's the part of the track that I'm currently writing for. So we have our little womp. Sounds like absolute arse at the moment. So just don't worry. We trust the process. Okay, so I think that's a bit bright, so I'm gonna. Right. Okay. So we have. This is what we're going to call our like bass of this particular. The basis, should I say, not the bass. That's just fucking confusing. So the basis of this sound is going to be this this womp fin here, and our modulator and carrier. So I kind of like that. We can also affect the envelope up here as well if we want that to do something differently, like having like a sharp attack with a lower sustain also gives you a little bit of a sort of a bit of more of a bite at the beginning, a bit more attack. I'm going to just turn this up. And it's not working particularly great because we've got like no, at the very beginning of the sound, it's just a single note. So I'm not going to worry about that. We might look at that later because that potentially could have a bigger impact on the sound. So we've got multiple ways of adding frequencies to our sound. We can do it with this frequency modulation. We can use different waves. We can use wavetables. There's lots of different ways we can do that. Another one that I really like to do is distortion. So distortion also adds harmonic information to your sound. You add, when I say harmonic information, I mean you're adding more frequencies in. So it makes our sound more detailed and brighter. I think, can I just deactivate this modulation? Do I do it this way? Oh no, it's deleting it. Well, that's fine. So currently we have this. So if I add distortion, you'll be able to see that we also get more harmonic information coming through. More frequencies are added. So you can see they're quite wide apart here. And so that's a way we can add more harmonics. We can try a harder one. That sounds quite sort of like square wavy. I quite like that. And now what we can do is we can literally use this womp shape to control the distortion as well. So we click on here and we go on to drive, and I'm going to just get it maximum. So you can see that those frequencies are added at the same time. So now when we add our other distortion, our other frequency modulation back, I just need to add it to this particular. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere with it sounding more like a womp. But now I also have to kind of dial in the effect a little bit because it's already getting a bit out of hand. One of the problems with making bass patches like this is that things can get out of hand pretty quickly, and you can start stacking too much information, too much stuff, and the more chaos and more like detail you bring to it, it will just sound more and more like noise, literally. So that's the distortion on its own. Also, another thing with distortion and drive is that you will also massively increase the volume. So this is a lot louder than it was. I'm hoping it's not blowing anyone's eardrums. It's fine over here. So we're getting into that sort of barky, sort of like wompy kind of territory. It still sounds pretty crap to my ears, but that's fine. We're going to keep working on it. Can I get a lower octave? No, what's that frequency there? 90. Yeah, that's going to be 45 if I go lower. Why is that not working? There's a weird thing going on with my MIDI keyboard as well. And for some reason, I cannot control the octave. What is going on with that? Technical issue number 2. At least this one's not completely stream breaking, so that's at least something. Just let me turn that back on. So realistically, I'd want an octave lower than that. Is there a way around I can do this? Yes, I can shift this down an octave. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to take this down 12 semitones. Now we're getting a bit of an unusual thing because these are now at completely different notes. So it's sounding a little bit atonal. So I'm going to also shift this one down 12. So that's sounding okay. Yeah. Now we can use this womp shape to like affect other things as well. We can potentially try. I'm wondering what would be a good one. I want to just experiment a little bit by messing around with the harmonic here. So this setting here is a little bit like the ratio setting in other synths if you have a synth with a ratio setting. Basically, it's the number of harmonics. So this is what we call the first order harmonic. And then the second harmonic is double the frequency. So you can see here is where it repeats, and we do it again, and there's now double. There's twice the number. And then 3 is 3 times, and etc., etc. And that's what we call the natural harmonic series. It's a feature that happens in nature. Physics, you can see literally the waves double. And that is how basically all sound essentially is built. Again, that might be going a bit too deep, but that's fine. So if I'm going to change the harmonic or the tuning, essentially, it's really like changing the tuning, but changing the tuning in a different way. It will start to sound more and more atonal. I'm going to make this longer so we can hear this a bit better. We can also make a control that will control the length of this, and that will be a nice, interesting way of controlling our womp too. So we'll add that probably towards the end. So, in fact, I kind of like it about this speed anyhow, to be honest. So now you should be able to hear that when I change this harmonic, it's going to sound more and more atonal the higher I go. Yeah, it gets pretty fucking gnarly the further I go up. But yeah, even just changing it a little bit. No, I kind of like it as it is. So I was just an experiment. There's situations where I might try doing something like that. When I have like a less like. There's even less like melody in a track, for example. You can make sounds that have less like tonal sounds. And a tonal sound is like something where you can have a recognizable note. Wah! That's ridiculously loud. Sorry. If I mess up the tuning of this and this, now there's not really a recognizable note. So that can be quite fun. Oh, this was down an octave, wasn't it? That can be quite fun. And it's one really, really good method of making bass lines, actually, because you don't have to be a slave to music theory if you don't find music theory is your bag. Now, I'm actually like a composer and like I play piano, play guitar, you can see. So like I'm a bit of a music guy and I like music theory. But you don't actually need a ton of it to like produce drum and bass. And so if that has ever been something that's like you've been worried about, like you don't really need to worry too much about it. I might do a video about it at some point as well, because the amount of music theory that you do need is actually kind of minimal as well. Like even if you're going to be doing things with chords and stuff, you know, you get the very first sort of like the first stages of music theory is also perfectly, you know, usable to make this kind of music. So that's pretty good. but yeah, if you want to making like unusual bass sounds with like without having a note specifically is one of like the more interesting ways you can make bass sounds, make bass riffs, and what happens is that the sound is based more upon the texture of the sound, more about the overall vibe of that particular sound itself that creates the interest in the track, and not things like chord changes and, you know, melody and stuff like that. And so that's quite a fun thing. And again, a lot of like neuro artists and like people like Noisier and other artists that do that kind of vibe have a bunch of tracks that like don't really use actual real melody. You know, for example, such as like the track Diplodocus by Noisier, which is also one of my favorites. Music theory is built into DAWs these days. Yeah, to an extent, I kind of agree. Like, I can show you an example. If we go into, like, if I create a MIDI clip, remembering my... I got it in one. I was just trying to make sure I remembered my keyboard shortcuts there. Yeah, so this is a piano roll, and you can actually set it so it's to a scale. Oh, how do I do that? Oh, there we go. Here's the scale. So you say like F minor, for example, and then this is a really bad patch to be trying to play this on. So you can have it like fold down to just the notes of F minor. But I kind of think that sometimes like limits you and makes it a little bit harder sometimes as well. So there's definitely like there's definitely positives and negatives to that approach, for sure. But yeah, there's more to it than just the scale as well. But I'm not gonna go into like tons about that now, because this track, although it does have like chords and stuff like that, that's not really what I'm like teaching in this. We're talking about like music production to start with, and you know, at some point we can totally get into music theory if anybody ever wants. But yeah, so right, I don't need that. So we have our primordial womp, the very beginnings of our womp sound. Oh, what's happening here? Have I done something? No, I haven't. It's just the very lowest octave is unlistenably low. Okay. Right, so let's continue like messing around with this. So I almost don't really want to try too much in terms of like adding more detail to it, because it's going to get out of hand really quickly. That's kind of nice. So I was just experimenting there with the amount of drive that it's got. So see here, I've only added about half of the maximum modulation. So when it gets to the top here, it's only going to go about halfway around what's left of that wheel there. So I've taken a bit of drive out and taken a bit of added a bit more of the phase modulation in, and that sounds a bit more like sort of like a bottle, kind of like a, I don't know, it's kind of like it's got that little sort of poppy sort of sound, kind of like that. But I think I'm going to go back to roughly where we had it before, so add a bit more of the drive. Oh, there's more of that. Yeah, that note is too low. Okay, so right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to treat this a little bit like a respace, and we're going to add in some like copies of this sound. This is just an experiment. I would not normally not do that using a sine because it kind of does strange things, and you end up with phasing and different other issues that can happen. But I want to just see what it sounds like if we add some unison in. Don't think I can hear that at all. Let's see. No. So we're getting, I'm not gonna do that. We're getting with these very simple waves like a sine. If you create copies of that, you end up with what's called constructive and destructive interference, where you end up having parts of the sound will take the sound away and parts of it will add to the sound. And that's a problem that is sometimes known as phasing. And you do get sort of slightly unpredictable and weird effects when you're using like very sort of standard waves like this. But there is another option, because we have this is at the sort of like the generator level, the very beginning sound before it goes through anything else. So adding unison at that point doesn't sound great. However, we do have like a kind of a unison effect here in what's called an ensemble. This is not quite the same, but it sort of like duplicates the voices. But because we've got it after everything, we've got it after the distortion, we've got it after everything here, we might end up with something interesting. So we're getting a bit of that. We're getting a bit of spread now as well, so we're getting some stereo information. Now, it sounds better, partly because we have stereo. So, like, that's one of the reasons it sounds better. But it's also just more interesting, really. When we don't have that, it's a lot drier. And there's nothing to it, to be honest, at that point. So, the next thing I would do is I would add, I hope I'm not looking up here too much. If that's distracting, let me know. So another thing that I would do, so that's, again, with this, we're adding more detail. It's like, it's not quite the same as, it's not quite the same as adding detail like we have done so far. So if you see here, this has just, I wish I could kind of screen grab that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so if we see this, we can see this is like the ordinary sort of harmonic pattern. There's not a ton more detail in this. It's just kind of like the main fundamental and then a bunch of the harmonics. When we add in this, we're adding lots of copies that are just very slightly out of tune, and that's why this detune happens here. And so because of that, we're going to get even more harmonics in this same range. So if you can't really see that very well, actually. There's definitely more detail happening up in this range. And I can hear it as well, so you don't have to rely on the analyzer the whole time. There's definitely an audible difference, especially with the stereo field. So that's an example of something that I like that we're going to leave in. Oh my goodness, a friend of mine has just joined the chat. Hi there. I wasn't expecting to see you. So thanks for coming on. I didn't even tell you this was happening. I didn't tell anyone this was happening. But yeah, so we have, again, we've got the basis of something interesting. So my temptation now is to do something involving reverb, but quite often I go like reverb last, because there's a good reason for that. Is that kind of, I find like reverb is almost always a finishing step for me. When it comes to sounds, like if I'm going to put reverb on it, I kind of want it to be at the end of the path. So like this is at the end here. It doesn't always have to be that way. I could put reverb before everything here, and that means that the sound that comes out of this section here would go through reverb before the distortion hits it. So that would make a completely different sound. We can have a listen to what that would sound like. This is one of the reasons that I love this synth, is that it's so easy to like mess around with the way that like effects like patch and stack. So that's pretty cool. So let's put in a bit of reverb here. There's multiple ways I can do this, but I'm just going to do this in just a simple way. So I kind of like it already. We're getting kind of... It's a real shame that it's like completely unusable at that lower note. That doesn't sound like a note to me anymore. This is F sharp, and then this is F sharp an octave lower. It just doesn't sound like a note to me at all anymore. So there's things I can do to change that. But yeah, so now we have some reverb. I'm going to turn this up. Hopefully that's not too loud for anyone. It looks like it's all right. I do have a limiter on it and stuff as well. So now we have like a ton of reverb. I usually will experiment with a couple of different styles. Like we'll try like a slightly smaller one with not as much mix. That's pretty cool. I kind of like to also the main effect that you want to be looking at when it comes to reverb is usually the decay length. The size of the reverb will affect how it sounds, like whether it sounds like it's in a larger room or a smaller room. But the biggest effect that we'll have is on the decay. So is how long does that reverb take to dissipate completely back to zero? And this is, I think, at 3 seconds. So if I turn it down to like 500 milliseconds, that's half a second. We have much more of that at the very short sort of room reverb. These are very small effects that have... I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Very small effects which have, like, not a great impact upon the whole track. So I wouldn't get completely caught up in, like, messing around. Just see what sounds good. Like, that's all I do. Really is all I do is I keep on stacking and trying different effects and see what sounds good. I do have some, like, underlying theory of how it all works. And that's kind of like, that's quite good to know, but it is quite technical. So, but, you know, just experimenting and messing around does get you some really fantastic results, especially if you're not worried about like it being the most amazing thing you've ever made, which I almost always try and have that mindset, as in, it doesn't matter if it's amazing. I'm just going to make something. You know, that's what we're doing now. Luckily, I already think that this is going to be a sound that I can probably use. Maybe it won't work in this track. We will see. But it is already getting to the point where I kind of like it. So now let me just say what I was going to show you what I was going to do before. So if I can actually minimize these as well, which is really helpful. So that's the distortion, and then that ensemble, which is kind of like that unison effect. I just want to just check one thing in my chat here, because I'm not getting updated saying, yeah, it says there's only one viewer, but there's at least 2 people in the chat, or 3 maybe even people in the chat. So I have literally no idea. That's probably incorrect. So God knows, there could be way more people watching and I have no idea. If you're another person in the chat, I don't think there are any other people in the chat. If there's anyone else in the chat, say hi. It'd be interesting to know. I didn't even expect a single person. So having even one is pretty cool at the moment. So yeah. Right, so the reverb. So I'm going to make this a bit more obvious. Now if I move this here, that reverb is now going to happen before it goes into the distortion. This will probably sound kind of weird because the reverb, again, sort of adds more information. It's kind of like adding reflections, and that naturally causes like stuff like phasing and different things. So it already like mangles the sound pretty heavily, and then we'd be distorting afterwards. So this probably will have a reasonably different sounding effect. Ooh. Hang on a minute. I kind of like that. You're never gonna hear that. The detail of that is interesting, but you're not really gonna hear it in the mix. Oh, you really 6 viewers? No way. That's fucking crazy. Oh well, I don't know if anybody knew, but I hit 1,000 subscribers literally the other day, so that's pretty insane. I've only been doing this about a year. That is YouTube. I've not been doing music for a year. I've been doing music for 20 odd years, probably 25 or God, probably 30 years really, if I'm being really honest about it. But yeah, I've only been doing YouTube for about a year, and so it's pretty amazing that there's actually people here. So thank you. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for showing up. This is probably not the optimum time for me to do as well. Like, it probably would be better if I did it more like 6, but the idea of doing 6 to 9, yeah, I'm not sure if that would work out, but yeah. Oh, hello, Jay Lopes. It's nice to see you. Yeah, it is a milestone. Yeah, it's a pretty cool milestone. I haven't hit the other milestone that you need, which is the 4,000 watch hours for like the monetization, but I don't give a shit about monetization. That's not at all something that's going to factor into my strategy. Anyway, but yeah, it's damn cool to actually be able to like talk to you guys, actually be able to like meet a couple of like people who watch the channel. I love production. I love music production, and I love teaching people and helping people with it, because it's just a proper passion of mine. So, and it's yeah, I've produced absolutely fucking tons of music in my life, not just electronic music, like in a metal band, for example, and like other things. I've done a bunch of classical stuff too. So yeah. But drum and bass was one of my earliest sort of like electronic genres that I got into, and I do love it, and I'm getting back into it again now with this channel, and it's pretty exciting stuff. So yeah, been learning to make music since 2005. Cubase, that was one of my earliest ones as well. Cubase, I started with Cubase. I don't know what version of it is, God knows. But it was about 2003 I started with Cubase. If you've ever seen my video on finishing tracks, what the hell is the name of the track? The video? It's something like how to finish music faster, so fast it feels illegal, or something like that. That video, I play one of my earliest pieces of music that I've ever made. It's horrendously embarrassing and really funny. Well, it's funny to me anyway, probably not to other people, but yeah. Basically that was when I was messing around with like Cubase and stuff, and it was all like vocal a cappella kind of stuff, and the very first track I made was properly weird. It was called In the Elf's Grotto. Yes, nice one, Tom. Anyway, right, so we're getting back to this. So we're making a womp sound. I don't know if anybody's actually turned up while I was explaining stuff before, but yeah, what we're making currently is like a womp. This shape here is an envelope. I basically refer to it as kind of like the womp fin. It's essentially like a sound which controls the brightness of our sound. We have this controlling a few different things that affect the brightness. Let me just turn off the reverb. We have it affecting the phase modulation of this wave here. So you can see when I press the note, we get more frequencies turning into this wave here. And it also the distortion too. And distortion adds harmonics and adds detail to the sound as well. So we've got both. This womp fin is controlling both the phase modulation, phase distortion here, and the distortion here. Then we've added in ensemble, which is kind of like adding in extra voices, adding in more information, and now we have like a bit of a stereo field. So it's like wider. So that's kind of where we're up to with this sound. Now, I was experimenting with We Need an Elves Grotto remix. Oh, God, no. I think that track needs to be buried in the annals of all of my a ridiculous amount of music that is never going to see the light of day. But, yeah. Anyway, so... yeah, we're now going on to sort of reverb, and what I was saying before is that reverb I find is usually a finishing step. Like, I really like it kind of like on the end of things, usually because it can get kind of a bit wild and a bit out of control if you put it into different parts of your signal chain. This is, for anybody who doesn't know, the signal chain is kind of just like the flow of the audio. Like, we have a wave that is then modulated by another thing, and then that wave, that output of that sound goes into these effects, and then they're in order. Yeah, so it goes reverb, distortion, ensemble. That's our signal flow. It's kind of like where the generator, which generates the audio, then goes afterwards, and then this is the output, and the steps in the middle is our signal flow. So, yeah, so the reverb, it's interesting, and I didn't have high hopes for it sort of in this part of the signal chain. It was here before. That sounds like a traditional reverb. It is just going over the whole patch. But putting it here is really interesting, actually, because it's being sort of it's nowhere near as bright or as obvious. If I turn up this mix knob, we'll hear more of it. But yeah, it's being affected by all of the other effects later in the chain. I do kind of like that though. Maybe we'll leave that on a lower setting. Now, the idea I had for this video, for this stream, was to make this sound and to make some other bits that would go in this track. And I kind of wanted to do this particular sound without using filters, because that's a filter is kind of like one of the most obvious and main things that people would add to any sound that they're sound designing. You know, it's the absolute foundation of most synthesizers. But you can see currently we haven't even used a filter. So the filtering here is not coming from like just cutting out all of our frequencies at a certain point. It's from the way that we make the sound brighter by using this envelope. So this is kind of more like how what's called like additive synthesis works, or other things where you stack different waves on top of each other instead of using a filter to carve out the bright parts of the sound. Now, I do want to mess around with a filter, because one thing I really like doing is I love the sound of a hard cut filter going into a distortion, because sometimes it can make some really interesting and unique sounds. So this is a hot tip for anybody messing around. I could demonstrate this on a different track, on a different patch, which I might do later. But for now, I'm going to just mess around with adding a filter. So this, because we've got this thing that opens and closes, I'm not sure this is going to be too great an example patch to try this on. But as I say, we're just messing around. We're just experimenting with like what works, what sounds interesting, and you know, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's the fucking fun of it. So who gives a shit? Let's try it. Yeah. So. So you might be able to hear if you've got decent headphones, or you can hear it well. But when I get it really low towards the bottom, so let me just quickly explain this to anybody who doesn't know what a filter is. So a filter kind of literally just chops off the frequencies at certain points. So if you see this whole section here, this is our EQ. I can add a filter like that. And it literally cuts the higher frequencies if we do this. There's other types of filters. We can do a low cut, or this is called a high pass filter. And I also like the way that sounds. So, we can basically experiment with that. But yeah, there is an interesting effect which happens when you use a filter at a very kind of low cutoff going into a distortion. I always find it's really interesting and makes usually kind of a crunchy, interesting sound. You might be able to hear it sort of just kicking in at the end there. I think this isn't the right patch to do this on, but I'm going to up the drive a bit. So you probably can hear, well, you almost definitely can hear, there's some weird artifacting that happens in that sound. Now, I do think that it's the wrong sound to use this on. This is the way I'm using this filter is it's going before the distortion. So like depending on what sort of synth you're using, you might be able to do that and you might not. But you can always, there are always ways to work around it. Like you can take all of your effects directly out of your synth and do everything afterwards. So if I were to turn all of this off and to just have that original sound, I can literally go into Ableton and just add in effects here in the signal chain. So this is now after. So if I wanted to add in a filter now, I could add a filter here and then distortion then. So essentially, we don't have to just stay in the box in our synth, and so there's quite a lot of flexibility, even if you don't have something like Phase Plant. I know people sometimes get a little bit worried about like doing more sort of external effects, because one of the reasons it's difficult is because you kind of have to own more effects, or you have to, use things. What on earth is this? Why is this here? Undo history. Oh my God. Okay. This was a caveat at the beginning. Like, I've only been using Ableton for about a year or so. I used to use Reaper. And so like, I don't know the DAW super, super well. So if anybody knows what I'm doing wrong at any point, it'd be amazing if you could answer my questions. I've used enough DAWs over the years to like be able to like do anything I need to do in it. But like sometimes I might be like, oh, where's that feature, or where's that thing, or what button do I press? So apologies if that happens going forwards. So anyway, I'm yammering on a lot. We're going to just experiment more with it. This is going to be made into probably a video afterwards, I'm hoping, where we will kind of like, I'll just show how this patch is made in a much more concise way, and I can just explain it in a less roundabout way. But for those who want this sort of more detailed descriptions on the stream, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, is that I get to have that more detailed discussion if anybody wants it. So anyway, I'm kind of liking it so far. I'm gonna see. I'm going to turn that drive down again. I'm going to see what else I can do. Now, one thing I can do is, again, we can just stack more distortion. This is another trick that I use quite a lot, is stacking distortions, because distortion, again, adds more detail. So if we add another distortion now, we'll get even more. I think it'll probably be a little bit much, but we'll see. Actually, it's not quite doing enough, funnily enough. Now, part of the reason for that is that the frequency information that we have that has been created, this is all that we have. So when you add distortion, it's only going to affect the sounds that are already there. We're not adding loads more. We're just adding kind of harmonics to the sounds that are already existing. So if it doesn't get loads brighter when you use distortion, there are other things we can do. Like, it's still kind of a bit dull sounding to me, and I quite like brightening it up a bit. We can do things like add a bit more of that, add a bit more distortion here. But yeah, I'm just gonna think what I want to do. I could add in another wave. So this would, if I added in another wave, we would end up with a lot more information. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, hang on. Something has happened. No, it's just the phase. Right. Interesting. Shift. That's fascinating. Okay, so something unpredictable has happened that I wasn't sure. Oh, right. We've completely changed the tuning of this note. And I wonder why that is. Okay, I was just checking what an F sharp is. So that's the reason it's not usable in that lower note. Okay. That's interesting. So does it... this is going to be me experimenting because like something's happened and now I want to kind of find out the reason for that. I suspect it's due to this phase distortion, but I don't remember it completely changing the note drastically before. So let's experiment with that. This is out of tune already. Why? How is that? I'm turning off everything. Am I missing something? Can anyone see something that's happened which has made this out of tune? Hello there, story mate. I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you? Thanks for coming on the stream. This is my first ever stream, so welcome. Yeah, I'm a little bit baffled as to why that is happening. It is out of tune for some reason. Why is that? Ugh, this isn't so much a technical issue as just something the hell has happened and I don't know why. Have I moved a knob? Where is my global tune? Master pitch? No, that says semitone 0. That's totally bizarre. This is completely out of tune. And I can't work out what the reason is. This is all set to 0 even. Ah, that's in tune. Okay, let me go down to 12. Huh. What's the reason? Come on. You can use it. Use your brain. Use your brain. Oh, it's because it's shift. I'm being a complete and utter muppet. Shift is phase, isn't it? No, actually, no, it's not. What the hell is shift? Okay, I'm going to look that up afterwards. I should have been using semitone. That's why. Okay. Do it live, I say. You go into this like having no... no, it wasn't... Yeah, it was this... I'd used shift instead of semitone. So this is probably not in this is probably in frequency as opposed to in sense or semitones. So yeah, that's in frequency. So that is literally just shifts the frequency. That was me being a muppet. So yeah, semitone. Would you believe it? I've used this synth for 4 years and I've never made that mistake before. So yeah. Anyway, let's do it again. Semitone. Now, yes, now we can use the note that I was hoping to use. Fantastic. Good shit. Right. So I'm going to add everything back in. So we're going to go phase distortion. Oh, hang on. So we used we used our phase distortion, phase modulation on our carrier wave from our modulator. And this was also not shift, semitone. So this was also... that's sounding way, way cleaner now. Okay, so everything that I've said so far is still completely, still completely works. It's just that it was ever so slightly out of tune, and they were also out of tune from each other. But I didn't notice it because it was only 12 hertz difference. So that would have been almost completely unnoticeable had it not been that I just added in a pure tone. So, oh shit! Of course it is. All right, story. Fucking hell. Yes, I don't know why that didn't click. Yeah, of course it is. Hello, mate. Yeah. So, all good. So we're completely changing the character of the sound now, completely, totally. But that's completely fine. We're messing around and having fun. It does explain why I couldn't play that note at that low note. So anyway, I'm going to be messing around to get to where I liked it before. Okay. I find with stuff like frequency modulation and phase modulation and stuff like that, the more you add, the more difficult it is to use. So like if I'm down here, we kind of got like a nice sort of like, it's not too intense, but as soon as I turn it up, it gets a little bit wacky, a bit wild and out of control. Oh, it's so different now than it was before. I'm kind of tempted to reintroduce some of the out of tuneness, but it needs to still needs to actually be in tune with my track, so I can't be too crazy with it. Let's try some. So I've done a trick here which is a little bit like unison, where you have two waves that are kind of out of tune, except this wave we don't hear because this is just modulating our original. Yeah, we need to get way spicier than this now. So let's have a think. Yeah, I'm going to add in that extra wave. And we're going to, let's try some, again, phase distortion. And then I'm going to add the womp fin to this as well. I'm also going to, so I'm just experimenting here to sort of see what's a good way to add in some more harmonics, so we get like, you can see we've got quite a lot more busyness happening up in this end now, and it might be that when we add some more distortion in, we get some more interesting sounds happening as well. Let me just. Okay, let's try the ensemble. Okay, we've lost all the kind of crunchiness that we had from before, but I'm not panicking because it doesn't matter. Like, this is all about the experimentation, all about the interest that we're creating with our sound. I'm going to try with the reverb this side again as well. It's definitely an interesting sound we've got, but it's just nowhere near as crunchy and gritty and gnarly as I was hoping. So maybe I'll try some unison on this one. This is, we're getting into more like what we call a respace. It's kind of like it's usually a sawtooth wave that has been stacked on top of each other and then detuned. So that is essentially what this is making. And I kind of think that we've already got quite a lot of that Reese sort of sound in the track. So we could try different. Oh, that's kind of actually good. So with a triangle wave, it is much closer to a sine wave in the way it actually sounds and the way the sort of harmonics work. So it's not as bright and as brutal as. Right. So where we're at now, I'm interested in doing a trick that I would normally do with Reese basses, which is where I would be. I will separate out the harmonic, separate out the frequency ranges. I'm going to do it before the reverb, and I'm going to add in a multipass. So this is a feature of this particular phase plant synth, and is one of the most powerful aspects of this synth. So essentially, multipass is kind of like a multi-effects that is built in. So it's, although it's in line here in this list of stuff here, I can actually open it, and this is the effect. And so this is an effect that is running in line with all the rest of the stuff that's been just going through here. And this multipass, you can frequency split. So if I play it again, you can see again we now have there's an EQ kind of at the top here, and these frequencies are all doing different stuff. So I can add distortion to just one aspect of this. So I can, if I add it up here, I probably maybe need to add some gain as well. This is just to get more volume in this part of the frequency. So we've got a lot more crunchiness happening at the top end. We can even change the range of this band. This is getting to sound a lot more like the sounds that are already in this track. So, okay, we have got somewhere towards creating a bit of a womp sound. And this is the kind of thing that I would now try and sort of see whether this actually works as part of this tune. If I was working on it on my own, I would be probably like auditioning the track and listening more than I have been doing with you guys, because obviously I've been explaining things and showing you my workflow. But again, it doesn't matter if it works or not. Really, it's about seeing what happens and seeing what works. I'm gonna just add it right at the end here. Let's see what the... no, that's unplayable. Right. Nah, this now sounds... Oh, hang on a minute. That's my foghorn anyway. What am I doing? I'm being a muppet is what I'm doing. Ah! What do you mean I'm really, really good at Ableton? Right. Okay. It does sound quite a lot like this foghorn though, doesn't it? Oh, hang on. Ah, no. That's quite a bit brighter. Okay. I think it's probably not going to be great, but we'll see. So I'm going to play the drop, and we'll hear what that sounds like. Just as a caveat, like I don't mix as I go. There's no point. Like really you just want it to sound at least decent enough so you can kind of hear everything, and mix at the end. Like this is honestly some heartfelt advice. Unless you only have a very small number of elements and you are really, really tight with knowing exactly what's going to be there, mixing from while you're composing and while you're actually making your track is usually just going to be a huge headache. You're just going to keep on having to readjust, and you'll just make your life a living nightmare. So just stay away from it. It's just not worth doing. So here is the... because it's been a while, I'm going to play the lead up and the drop. In fact, I'm just going to play it from the beginning. Again, there is very little work that's been done on this intro, and so it needs quite a bit more work. But yeah, so it's going to be kind of a bit of a letdown just for that one tiny little bit. But anyway, here's what we've got so far. Actually, definitely don't hate it. Wondering whether it's a bit late. Blah, 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 blah. I would love if anybody's in the chat knows how to stretch. This is just something you could do in fucking Reaper. I just want to stretch that clip to double the length. Just want to stretch it. Any button? No. I don't know how to do that. So we're gonna just duplicate it. No, we're not. We're gonna make it longer, consolidate it, I think. Consolidate, and then I'm going to just rip. That's going to be too long now. Ooh, almost. We go hard on. I can't believe it. That actually kind of works. So, again, the mix is completely off, and I will definitely work on the overall sound. Will maybe still fuck about with the like reverb and stuff a little bit. We go on. It still sounded quite dry to me. So we go on. And it does sound, again, because this bass is so gnarly, this one, it sounds a bit close to that for my liking. But I do like the motion, and I do like the amount of time it opens and closes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this patch. I'm going to call it Womp Fin Wanker. And basic Womp. Basic Womp that took me an hour and 48 minutes to explain to everybody. Normally, obviously, I wouldn't spend that long fucking around on something, but hopefully this has been entertaining and informative. That might be putting it a bit far. That might be pushing it a bit. But I've had fun making this particular sound. So the length of this, I don't want to mess up. So where am I going to save it? Where are my patches? Okay. All of my very good names of tracks. Yeah, I'm going to put also some tags in here. Bass, maybe Neuro, maybe D&B. And you can buy my sample pack. No, I'm joking. I don't have a fucking sample pack to sell. So go away. At some point, I probably will like give out some of these things at some point, you know, in exchange for emails and stuff if people are interested. But, you know, this is such a basic sound. I don't think anybody's going to give a shit. So it's been an interesting advert for Faceplan. Yeah, like... I did actually once like reach out to them to be like, do you have an affiliate program or anything like that? Because I use your fucking program a lot, and they were like, nah. So I don't care. Like I would go to bat for this. Like I do love this particular synth. If you want me to use some other synths, I totally can do that. I just love the flexibility of this. Like, you just don't have multipass in other synths. Now, to do this sort of effect, I would go outside of the synth to do that normally if I didn't have phase plant. So I would create some sort of like signal chain here where it splits the frequencies, and then I could then use different effects on those frequency ranges. And yeah, there's one other effect that I would like to maybe have a mess around with, because this is like, it's a classic when it comes to neuro, but I think it's probably going to be too much on this particular track so far, because we've already got quite a lot going on with it. And that is kind of like an OTT sort of like rip off. So if we go on multipass again, we can open up another one, and we can open up this basic one. Where is it? It's in dynamics, no TT, and then we just have a listen to what that sounds like. I can do it without it. Oh, I've not got. Oh, I've got. That's why. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I knew it would be too much. So this, again, I don't really want to get into a huge explanation of this, but like, you know, OTT is kind of like a multi-band compressor, and it like, again, it has a similar effect in that you're affecting different parts of the frequency range, and you can make different parts of your sound louder and quieter, but it doesn't just affect the volume, it affects the dynamics of those bits. So it's an interesting effect. I sometimes mess around with it. I think it's way too much with what we've got, although I will listen to it in context. Can't even hear it because it's gone kind of quite a lot quieter. Let's bump up the... You'll see that my mixing hygiene is extremely good, and like totally no bad habits or anything. Like, I'm just amazing at what I'm doing. That is a fucking joke. It's not. I have quite poor bad habits and stuff when it comes to mixing. I can turn the gain up here actually. Whoa, it's getting a bit gnarly. Maybe add a little bit in. Again, you can mess around with the effects in here, and you can sort of like bring up the compression down. You know, you can mess with it. But I'm not going to spend too much messing around with this. I think I'm gonna leave it off. It sounds all right, but I think it's just gone a little bit far for what our purposes are. Anyway, I've saved it there. What I would really do in this instance with this exact bass sound is, now I really like the way that fades in. I just think it's kind of timed a bit wrong. So what my next stage would be probably is I would actually render this out. Let's do it. Again, showing my amazing skills in this program, which I definitely know how to use really well. I'm going to add in another track. That's not what I wanted to do. I can just bounce track in place. No, I'm not going to do that. What is the best way to do this? Never really used phase plant. Is it any good in comparison to Serum 2? Serum 2's a beast. Serum 2's absolutely fantastic. If you have Serum, I don't even worry about it. Like the fact that I think phase plant has inspired how have gone about making Serum 2. It's definitely not the same in terms of it's like really modular. Like with phase plant, you can literally drag. Oh, where's that gone? It's decided to do a fart. So you could just drag your effects around in any order. You can the routing's really, really intuitive, and the fact that you can add in this multi-band effects unit into your thing. Like you can even put another one inside your multipass. It's crazy how deep you can go with it. It's really, really crazy. So I do just love it. I haven't used Serum 2 as much, but let me open it. Does it matter? I'm on the same bloody channel. No, probably not. I just won't press a button. So what it does have, which is kind of really sexy. No, not updating that yet. Is its effects. I love what they've done with the effects now. So like the effects, you have like an effects chain, and you can add in multiple, which you didn't used to be able to do. So that's pretty sick. Again, you can mess around with the order. This is a bad example. Let's do some different ones. Delay, flanger. So you can add them in different orders. You could do that in the other one, but what you couldn't do is you couldn't add like multiple. So you couldn't have like 2 filters that were the exact same effect. And so that was a little bit limiting for me. Plus, you've also got these buses now. So you can actually route, if you go on the mixer, you can actually route your effects through these different buses. So it's similar, it's really powerful, and they're a blinding company. Again, really, really good synth. And I just sort of kind of outgrew Serum originally because Faceplant was there, and I was just so interested in how that worked that I kind of skipped over using Serum for kind of a long time. And I've been using that for, God, years and years now. So, but if you have, I'm very much a believer of whatever fucking synth you have, just use that one. It's fine. Like, you can do so much. Like, even if you can't do everything in the synth itself, you can do so much outside of the synth in the signal chain down here, you know, that you can still have as much functionality and flexibility as you need. It just kind of goes against like the standard logic. When you're online, you see people making patches in a synth, and they don't rely on any of that external processing as much. I think it gets a little bit overwhelming for people. And so that is one of the reasons why it's good to have a synth where you can do a lot just in the synth, because you don't have to have all of those external effects. I know that like Ableton comes with a bunch of like plugins and sort of like native plugins and stuff, but a lot of people prefer to use like the more paid plugins anyway. And if you don't have a big library of effects, or you don't already have access to that, it's definitely better if you've got a synth where it's a lot, you can do so much just inside the synth. And I definitely think Serum 2 and Faceplant are both amazing for that. So, anyway, we didn't really get a crap ton done today, but I definitely had fun. I think it went better than I thought it would, despite that humongous cock up at the beginning where there was no sound. And also, I think that my video is going to be unusable afterwards because I was trying to record it separately with all of the inputs. You don't need to know this anyway. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick to just the 2 hours for now. I've been streaming since 3. So I think basically today we can kind of call it a bit of a day, really. If there's anybody who has any other questions or anything that you want to know before the end of the stream, I'm willing to answer. Don't feel like you have to put your hand up or say anything. If you could let me know how many people are in the stream. I actually have no idea because my OBS does not tell me how many people are actually here. So, like, yeah, I have no idea. Thanks very much, Carl. I really appreciate you showing up. Also, I think you've been here for the whole stream as well. So, well done for listening to me absolutely ramble out of my ass the entire way through. Normally, when I do my videos on the main channel, like a lot of thought goes into how I explain things and try and break things down, make it simpler for people to understand. So I hope I didn't completely fucking mess up anybody's brains with my roundabout complicated explanations. But yeah. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody, and thanks for the 1,000 subs. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, it's been fun. I'm probably going to do more of these, and we'll probably hopefully get a bit further with production in the next upcoming streams. I'm not sure what the schedule is or anything going to be yet, but yeah. So thanks very much, and I really appreciate everybody. Anyone who's been here, whoever has been here. And if you're watching this afterwards, after the fact,
I'm very sorry. 2 hours of your life has just been obliterated. Anyway, thanks very much. I appreciate it, and take care, and hopefully see you guys soon. Cheers. I think I pressed stop streaming.